There's a few lessons you only gotta learn one time, and biting into an unripe persimmon is one of them. One bite will dry your mouth out so bad it feels like you've been chewing on a wool blanket. But when an American persimmon's fully ripe, it becomes one of the sweetest and richest wild fruits you can have here in Appalachia. Welcome back to Appalachia's Edible Wild, where we take a closer look at the plants, fruits, nuts, and old mountain foods growing all around us. Persimmons have been gathered across Appalachia for generations. Family used the fruit in persimmon pudding, breads, cakes, preserves, homemade drinks, and just about anything else they could stretch a good seasonal harvest into. The wood is also extremely hard and was traditionally used for things like tool handles, weaving shuttles, and other items that needed to take a beating. One of the easiest ways to recognize a mature persimmon tree is by its bark. The bark is dark gray and almost black, and it breaks into thick, square blocks. A lot of people say it looks like alligator hide. The leaves are oval-shaped, pointed at the end, and have smooth edges. They grow in an alternating pattern along the branch, instead of directly across from each other. The fruit starts out green and slowly turns orange or reddish orange as it matures. These persimmons are much smaller than the larger persimmons you normally see at the grocery stores. Most wild ones are only about 1 or 2 inches across. They also have a leafy 4-part cap attached to the top of the fruit. But here's the kicker. Just because the fruit's turned orange don't mean it's ready to eat. An unripe persimmon is full of tannins, and those tannins are what causes that dry, puckering feeling in your mouth. A ripe persimmon should be extremely soft. It may look wrinkled, bruised, or almost too far gone. It should feel more like a bag of jelly than a firm piece of fruit. A lot of ripe persimmons will fall naturally from the tree, so always look on the ground beneath it. People often say persimmons are not ready until after the first frost. Cold weather can help soften them, but the frost is not the only thing that makes a persimmon ripe. Some will ripen before the frost if they're just left on the tree long enough. The softness of the fruit is a better test than the date on the calendar. You can find persimmons growing along old fields, fence rows, pastures, roadsides, forest edges, sunny woodland openings, and around old home places. They like sunlight, so you are usually more likely to find them around the edge of the woods than under a deep, heavy forest canopy. Always make sure you have permission to gather on private property. Avoid fruit growing beside heavily traveled roads or anywhere that might have been sprayed with herbicides or other chemicals. Once you find a fully ripe persimmon, the flavor is completely different from an unripe fruit. A good ripe persimmon is sweet, rich, and almost custard-like. The flavor can remind you of honey, dates, apricots, brown sugar, and warm fall spices. You can eat the soft pulp fresh, but watch out for them large seeds inside. The traditional way of preparing them involved removing the leafy caps and pushing the ripe fruit through a food mill, sieve, or colander. This separates the pulp from most of the seeds and skin. That pulp can then be used in some persimmon pudding, quick breads, muffins, cookies, pancakes, jams, fruit leathers, smoothies, and homemade ice cream. If you want, you can also freeze the pulp and use it later in the winter. If you want to grow your own, persimmons can be started from seeds, but you're gonna need patience. Seed-grown trees may take several years before they produce fruit, and the fruit may not be exactly like the tree it came from. Many persimmon trees are either male or female. This means you need both a male and a female tree nearby for a good fruit production. Some name varieties can produce fruit without pollination, so buying a cultivated persimmon variety is usually the most dependable option. Plant persimmons in full sun with well-drained soil. They develop deep roots, so plant them somewhere where they can stay permanently. Young trees will probably need a little protection from deer, livestock, and lawn equipment. Persimmons are proof that appearances can be deceiving. The ugly, wrinkled fruit that looks like it's gone bad may be the sweetest one on the tree. Just make sure it's soft, fully ripe, and positively identified before you taste it. Wild food is not safe just because it grows in nature. Know what you're gathering, know how it should be prepared, and remember the first rule of foraging. When in doubt, leave it out. Let me know what wild Appalachian plant, fruit, or nut we ought to cover next.